Hey, cousin. What you up to? Hello, hello. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey. Good evening, you all. We're going to talk about Section 8 tenants. I made a post today and decided to go live to talk about this. Love to see if some landlords and or tenants come online, right? And what sparked this video was actually a post I saw. They kind of gave me a little aha moment, but okay, that's my son. Gave me a little aha moment. How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing? Say hello. Let me know how you're doing. So what sparked this video, I read someone's post. They know someone or something was posted about an individual that has a 32 unit building. I guess all the tenants got together and had a meeting and decided that none of them were going to pay their rent due to COVID-19. Hey, Adrian, how you doing? Due to the coronavirus, right? So imagine owning, hey, Latasha, how you doing? You own a 32 unit building and all of the tenants decide that they're not going to pay their rent. So what's basically going on is, hey, Alita, how you doing? So what am I trying to say? Credit card companies. If you have experienced a hardship, you can call your credit card company, right? Student loan interest has been suspended, and some people think you don't have to pay your rent. The thing is, if you can pay your rent, mortgage, if you can pay your bills, pay your bills. But some people are looking at this as an opportunity not to pay their bills. I have seen so many different posts. One renter posted, housing is a basic human right. And the owner of the property signed up to pay a mortgage. As a tenant, they don't have to pay their rent, right? So the 32 unit thing made me think about the whole Section 8. I've done videos, I've talked to people. I don't want a Section 8 tenant. Section 8 tenants are this, that, and the third, right? Here's the thing. People are people. Humans are humans. I'm not going to assume that someone is bad or doesn't know how to take care of or live in a property because they have Section 8. Like, I've had people say, well, what happens when your Section 8 tenant tears up the place? What happens when a regular tenant tears up the place? Like, just because somebody is paying cash money for an apartment doesn't mean that they're going to pay their rent on time, that they are going to respect your property. Just because someone has Section 8 doesn't mean that they're going to disrespect your property. And some Section 8 tenants pay money out of pocket. One of my tenants, one of my best tenants she had Section 8. She had been on her job for 14 years. She had a portion that she needed to pay out of pocket. And she paid her rent on time faithfully every month. She paid her portion every month. Anytime I went into her apartment was clean. It was her daughter, her mom lives up the block. Her mom would come over. She started dating a gentleman. Other than that, nothing crazy going on. Tenants across the hall, man, woman, child. They having parties. The girl doing hair, market rent, and not pitting one against the other. Just saying anything can happen. moving in people, getting girl done got jumped on, and now she calling me telling me what happened, and this person was living in a bit, just craziness, right? So saying that to say, just because somebody has a horror story of a Section 8 tenant, trust and believe there are people that have horror stories of cash paying, market rent, I have a job tenants, right? One thing's for certain, two things for sure. On the first of the month, Section 8 paying. And if the first falls on a Sunday or a Saturday, you get your money on Friday. If the first falls on a holiday, you get your money early. It's guaranteed rent money, right? This is not to say only rent to Section 8, right? That's not to say that, right? But this is to say, don't not rent to Section 8 thinking, oh, they tear up property, they're this and they're that. Because one thing I learned the first time I took the real estate class, and I'm going to get to your comment, Latasha. First thing I learned when I went to real estate school back in, how old was I? I got to think about how old. 2003. There are professional renters out there. There are professional renters that have not paid rent in years. They go from apartment to apartment. They know the game. They know the system. They know the laws better than the landlords, running circles around them. There are professional renters that don't pay rent, right? So we just can't look negatively on Section 8. Tasha says Section 8 is hard on landlords, but they will run you that check. So I'm guessing this 32-unit building is not Section 8, and that's going to be a problem if the owner of the building doesn't have savings. Definitely is going to be an issue. Now, because of what's going on, mortgage companies, if you call your lender as an owner, they are working with owners, right? Understanding that, especially of multi-units, but even single family homes, right? Section 8 is known for being hard on landlords. They've gotten a little more lenient, and I'll say what I mean. So I failed a Section 8 inspection. They train them to fail you. So one great thing about Section 8 is every year someone's coming out to look at your hot water tank, your heating system, and it could be multiple times a year because like tenant A, I think her inspections were in December. Tenant B's inspections were in May. So it's based on when they move into the apartment. But it was a trip hazard. So between the hallways to the kitchen, a small little wood piece was not there. So it was a trip hazard. But Section 8 will, if you fail the inspection, right, they'll come back a second time. You have about 2 times to get it right. If you don't get it right, your rent will be withheld. So depending on the date of the inspection, your rent may be withheld for the first of the month if you haven't passed the inspection. They did send out something late last year, mid last year, saying that if it was a violation that did not impact, so let's say if the hot water tank doesn't work, right? So they don't have hot water, the heat doesn't work, or it's a hole in the window. If it's something that really impacts the person living there, yes, we'll withhold the rent. But if it's a trip hazard, like what I had one time, no, we won't withhold the rent for certain violations. The other thing with Section 8 is some tenants do pay a portion, right? And I know landlords who their tenant would not pay their portion. $20, $25, $100, $200, $300, it just depends. You can report your tenant to Section 8 and they risk losing their voucher. Right? Hey, their portion is $25 or their portion is $300. They have not paid their portion for February or March. You need to get them up out of here. You need to figure it out. I know a landlord that was just going through this. Her tenant was not paying her portion. She politely called Section 8. I appreciate you all for making your payment. The tenant is not making her payment. She has to go ASAP. It wasn't that her lease was up. Section 8 got her moving papers together. My former client got that tenant out, moved another tenant in. Livable conditions, thank you. Balance is needed, like they do affordable housing these days, 70, 30, 80, 20. Right, for me, I would probably have for a 4-unit property, preferably 2 of my tenants would be Section 8. That way I know my mortgage, taxes, and insurance are paid. So for me, my mortgage was $1,800. My Section 8 tenants together, I think my mortgage, taxes, insurance, all of that together was $1,800. My 2 tenants on the first floor were both Section 8. Together, they were paying, I want to say, about $2,000, right? So I know on the first, my mortgage and everything is paid. If tenant 3 and tenant 4, which were cash paying market rate tenants, don't pay, right? I know my mortgage is paid. I have a little leeway, right? When you're dealing with, sometimes when you're dealing with cash paying tenants, like I had people say, my tenants did, but my tenant was paid on the 5th of every month. So I made it where their rent wasn't due until the 8th. I'll work with you. And around Christmas time, their job wasn't paying. And he was sending me the text messages. Cash paying tenants, some of them, not all, they'll go Christmas shopping, New Year's Eve, and not pay their rent. And then file their taxes and get the rapid refund to avoid eviction, right? This is just what I've heard on Facebook, right? Or seen out here. So it's a risk. Being a landlord is a risk. But I would not rent to a Section 8 tenant. There are great, decent, wonderful people on Section 8. Just like there are market rate, cash paying, I have a job tenants that can be the worst, and vice versa. People are people, but I'm not going to judge somebody because they have a Section 8 voucher and assume the worst about them. Some people care about where they live. They want to live comfortably. They want to live somewhere that's nice. My tenant asked me, she was like, I don't like the color of the paint. Can I repaint? She came in and put different type of blinds up. I mean, she took great care of her apartment, and she lived there for about 2, 3, 4 years. She liked living there because her mother lived up the street. She was comfortable with the area. Her particular unit had been a little bit more modern and updated than the others. And I was a decent landlord. I had market rate tenants when they moved out, they left bedbugs behind. Say, oh, we didn't know. Yes, you did, because you threw your mattress and everything out before you moved. Who does that? Y'all knew how you didn't know you got bedbugs? When I came up there once to get your rent, you all was sleeping in the living room on the air mattress. You know good and damn well you had bedbugs. Section 8 will kick out tenants who are not living by their rules too. Absolutely. So you do have the ability. It's not where you end up with a Section 8 tenant and you're stuck. Report them. You're on Section 8. It's 2 people on your lease. Why are 6 people at your house? Why have 6 people been living here for the last 3 months? They are not on the lease. You are in violation. They gotta go. You want to get put out. You don't like living here. So you do have, there are ways to keep Section 8 tenants in line. So no, I don't think Section 8 tenants are the worst, but there are some people who feel that way. Section 8 is not landlord friendly. That's not true. Section 8 are not landlord friendly. You know what? They are changing. I would say this. We have to think, I'm in Chicago, right? There are slumlords out here. So Section 8 wants to be sure that people are living in properties that are up to a standard, and not that people or landlords or people are treating them any old kind of way because they're on Section 8. When I was looking for a multi-unit with one of my clients on the west side in the Lawndale area, I walked into some apartments and was like, people live here? You walk up to the front door, the glass broke out and missing. The bathroom sink looked like a small kitchen sink. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I called my father like, oh my God, Daddy, like people. And he was like, well, Jonah, you know, some people have bad credit. They feel like they don't have any options. There are slumlords out here. There are landlords that should be ashamed of themselves, right? So Section 8, being a Section 8 landlord, I never felt like Section 8 favored the tenant more. They came out, they came out and inspected my property when one of my tenants moved in December or whatever, February. So when they come back in May, I'm thinking, oh, it's cool, everything is good. Tenant A was a single woman. Tenant B was a woman with a 6 or 7 year old child. So because the 6 or 7 year old child is moving in, now my property isn't up to standard for the 7-year-old. I had to repaint my entire fence. I had a wrought iron gate. I had to repaint the entire back. There could be no chip paint anywhere in the property. I'm thinking I'm gonna pass. So it's not that, you know, they make it super hard on landlords. They want to make sure that people, someone living in a Section 8 apartment or building, let's say the whole building is Section 8, should be able to live with the same standards as somebody that's paying market rent. I do feel like Section 8 would fail you for almost any and every little thing, but they follow the HUD guidelines. So they follow the Housing and Urban Development guidelines. So every time HUD changes their guidelines, Section 8 updates their system, and that's what they're coming to look for when they inspect every year. I've had terrible experiences with market rate tenants. Definitely prefer Section 8, just my personal experience. And everybody's experience is different, right? So, perfect example, Hank has horror stories of market rate tenants. Somebody has horror stories of Section 8 tenants. But what bothers me is when I see people like, I'm not going to rent to Section 8, period, because they're this, they're that, they're the other. It's like, that's just like saying all black women are this, or all black men are that, or all white men. Like, we go to the extreme sometimes. Location definitely matters. And somebody said on my post, screen your tenants. Just because they have a Section 8 voucher doesn't mean you have to accept them. Just because I run background checks, I ran credit checks, I'm looking at your monthly income versus the rent. The checks that I run would show me if they had a car, how much their car note is. So I'm thinking in my mind, you know, if you only make this amount a month and the rent is this and your car note is that, you're kind of strapped for cash. Maybe I don't want to rent my apartment to you because I don't want you to come with a sad sob story with me telling me you can't pay. Because I had a market rate tenant, and it just so happened I worked for a nonprofit, so I knew at that time nonprofit funding had an issue. And I legit told them, like, look, if you can't afford to pay the rent, no harm, no foul. Be out by this date. All is well. Those are the people that left the bedbugs behind, though, right? Ali said, truth spoken. Once you sign that lease, seem like they disappear. Who disappeared, girl? I'll be having to catch up. So, no, all Section 8 tenants are not bad. The one great thing about Section 8 is the money comes on the first of the month every month like clockwork. And if the first is on a weekend or a holiday, you will get your money early. And it comes direct deposit. And even when my tenant moved out on like the 4th or the 5th of the month. Section 8 paid me for the whole month. Beautiful thing. So, my suggestion as a real estate professional, as a landlord, somebody that has dealt with tenants, and just like somebody else said, I would mix it up. I would have some Section 8 tenants. We can talk about Section 9. I would work on getting some of my units Section 9. So I would have Section 8, Section 9, and market rate, especially when we're talking about 6 units plus. I would have a mix in the building just to mix it up. Some of my Section 8 tenants were some of my best. It depends on the person. Like you said, background checks. Yes, my Section 8 tenant, then what warmed my heart. It must have been, I don't know if it was when she got her taxes back, but every year around March, April, she would pay 2 months. She'd be like, this is my rent for this month and next month. Girl, you paying rent early? Bless your heart. And every month before the 5th, I hear a little knock on the door. And her daughter would give me her money order for her rent. So it just depends, right? It absolutely just depends. But to legit just throw off, like, there are some people, I'm not renting Section 8. I don't want no Section 8 people in my building, which is illegal, by the way. Unless you have a 4-unit property that you live in, then you can you have a little more leeway. But it is illegal just to be like, I'm not going to rent to Section 8. I'm not considering, you can't do that. I am an excellent landlord. I have a property that's been on the market for the last 4 months. Can I find a good Section 8 tenant? I do home visits. All money is not good money. All money is not good money. All money is never good money, right? I agree. Where is your property at, Carol? Can't find a good Section 8 tenant. So you have Section 8 tenants who might be applying, but they're just not a good fit. Like, I look at things like single woman with a kid, single man, married couple, dating couple. I just look at certain things. You kind of get a vibe. I think me personally working in HR as a recruiter and talking and interviewing people and kind of being able to read people helped me a little bit, just a little bit. Do you offer electronic payments for rent? At the time, I was not offering electronic payments for rent. I would allow my tenants to go directly to the bank because I had a business bank account and deposit their money. I probably could have. I know like Pangea and places like that have an online portal and all of that set up. My portfolio isn't there yet, but it would be great for a tenant to be able to go onto a website, because then you don't have to hear, I couldn't get a money order, this, that, or the other. What I will say is, for me, when I first got my building, and I love having a lot of men, boys in my family, I was going to my building. My cousin said, stop going to your building collecting cash. You don't know who's watching you. Somebody might try and stick you up. Your tenants might set you up. That's just, people think like that. So that's when I started telling them, go to the bank directly. When I moved into the property, they could come to my door and pay me cash or whatever it was. But that's a great idea. Oh, and you're having trouble finding a tenant? My building, you're on 83rd and Aberdeen, so you're on the other side. My property was on 88th and Ada, so I'm real familiar with the Auburn Gresham area. But yeah, so I'm Jamesia Jonay. I'm gonna let y'all go. Section 8 tenants, you know, they can be great. Market rate tenants can be horrible. Section 8 tenants can be horrible. Market rate regular tenants can be great. It just depends. I have a friend on Facebook. A tenant was moving out. I don't know if they were Section 8 or market rate. Left all the water on, but put all the stoppers in the sink in the tub and caused a flood and some issues because they were mad. So, being a landlord, I'll end with this. Every investment has some sort of risk. Purchasing a multi-unit property, becoming a landlord, there is risk involved. What we can learn from Corona, whether you're a landlord, a single family home owner, a renter, we all should be working to save money, have reserves, have an emergency fund, because ish hit the fan and none of us were expecting what's going on now. We are sheltered in, on punishment, shouldn't be outside, and we all super grown, right? So that, and just preparing for the risk, having that cushion, having that emergency fund, like I said, and just bracing yourself for the risk of dealing with any kind of tenant, just dealing with people in general. So I encourage anybody who's considering purchasing a multi-unit, take a property management class, because there are professional renters out here. Some of these these tenants know the Chicago landlord tenant ordinance back and forth, some of them better than the landlords do. And if you don't know the law, you don't understand the law, you don't understand what you can and cannot do as a landlord, the tenants will get you every time in court. They will run circles around you if it comes to eviction and whatever issues you may have, right? So get as much knowledge as possible. Maybe take a customer service class. Just really learn how to work with people, talk with people, have your emergency fund set up, have your reserves, keep your reserves. Just plan, for worst case scenario. Worst case scenario being you having to pay the mortgage by yourself, right? So even when you buy with that in mind. I might have to pay this entire mortgage by myself. Can I afford it? Because things happen, right? So I am Jamesia Jonay, the wealth creator. I show people how to use other people's money to pay their mortgage, create cash flow, generate generational wealth, and protect their assets. You all have a great evening. Happy Friday Eve. Although we cannot go outside, have a great evening. Like the video, share the video, slide in my inbox if you're looking for a real estate agent or a realtor if you're thinking about selling. Some people are still buying and investing in this market as well. The spring market is coming up, although the coronavirus is wreaking havoc on the nation and the world. People still need a place to live. People are still working, earning money, making money, and looking for their dream home. Or I don't really work with renters unless I've helped the landlord. If I sell a multi-unit to a landlord, I'll help that landlord fill their property up with renters. But I do not specifically work with renters unless we're talking like West Loop downtown. So you all have a great night.